What's happening, everybody? Welcome into a brand new episode of Phightin Words. Friday morning, July 25th. Anthony SanFilippo is here. I'm Bob Wankel. Phillies, Yankees this weekend in the Bronx. The second place Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Yankees. And the reason that the Phillies are in second place is because they could not hold on to a 5-0 lead in the fifth inning against the Boston Red Sox on Wednesday night. And it totally turned upside down a series that was feel good. A series where you could really start to say to yourself, like, all right, this is the team. This is what we want to see. Like, they are a piece or two away. They're going to go get it. You're coming off of a sweep going into this Yankee series. Everything's great. And then this team reverts back to what it has done now for about 2 months. It just cannot gain consistent momentum. It cannot win 3 straight games. It cannot string together impressive performances night after night after night. And they do fall out of first place in what I thought was, Anthony, probably one of the most annoying games of the season, although it was a great game and it was an entertaining one. And it was also a series where, they did do a lot of good things and there were a lot of positive things to highlight. So I want to get into what we saw a little bit in that series, especially the good stuff, but I do want to talk about what happened Wednesday night. And I also want to get into now some of the trade deadline whispers that we're hearing Andrew Painter through last night. There's a lot to kind of unpack here. And there's one other question I want to have for you here this morning. Rob Thompson. We almost never talk about Rob on this show. We almost never talk about what he does tactically, and he's always a hot topic online in games. I want to get into Rob a little bit because I thought he had one of his worst games of the season on Wednesday night. I know that you were on Twitter during and after the game sort of defending him a little bit. And I'm not here for attack mode necessarily this morning, but I want to talk a little bit about Rob and your overall confidence in him and your assessment of the job he's done this season as well. So we'll bring you in here.
Well, where do we want to start? You want me to start with the Rob thing? Is that where you want to go? Or do you want to just kind of go with the,
I'll tell you what, let's go to the fifth inning of Wednesday night's game and talk about what happened there. First and foremost, we're looking at a pitcher now and Jesus Luzardo, who I don't know that you can trust. I think that you can bank on the fact that once every 2 or 3 starts, he's going to go out there and give you a really good start. And that's nice. And if he's your 4th guy or 5th guy, you feel fine about that. I'm not going to tell you that he's going to prevent them from winning a World Series or anything like that this year, but he's got to be better. And what we saw from him in the fifth inning on Wednesday night was alarming. I don't think that he was aided necessarily by his catcher defensively, and I certainly don't think he was aided by his manager in that inning. So tell me what you saw as that disaster unfolded Wednesday night.
So it unfolded incredibly quickly, and that's the thing. And this is why I was defensive of Rob. So Luzardo going into the 5th inning has a no-hitter. Okay? So you got to assume, as well as he had pitched through the first 4 innings, with a 5-run lead, he's going to get a little bit of leeway, right? He's going to get a little bit of a runway. Gives up a leadoff double and then a walk. Okay, fine. Then he gets an out. Okay? Then there's another out, a walk, and then another out. I forget what the order was there, but it ended up being bases loaded, 2 outs, right? So you got Reqlmuto up. When the pop-up happens, okay, at this point, there's nobody up yet, okay? Figure, all right, he's only given up 1 hit, couple of walks, but he's 1 out away from getting out of this inning, and we have a 5-run lead. He gets the pop-up, would have ended the inning. Reqlmuto never sees it. Harper doesn't see it. Luzardo never. None of them saw it. Right? Yeah, nobody saw it. Okay, it lands harmlessly. Okay, he's got Luzardo in my mind, and I think that ultimately the Phillies will say it too. I mean, Rob's line when he said he lost concentration, I thought was the most important line that nobody really focused on of what was said after the game. Luzardo's got to bear down there. Like, hey, guess what? Shit happens in a game, right? You got to come out and make some pitches. He ends up walking Reqlmuto, and the first run comes in. Now the tying run's going to come to the plate immediately.
Now, by the way, at this point, that is what, 3 walks? Is that 3 walks? Okay,
that's 3 walks in the inning.
At the 3rd walk of the inning, and you're talking about a guy, and this is where, to me, someone's up at this point. We're going now because you're talking about a guy who does this. This is his thing.
Okay. Well, so the point was that Rob had said that they had talked about it in the dugout, and they said, we're not going to let him get to Trevor Story. We're just not. He's left,
Yeah.
Story's the guy that we worry about beating us. He's not going to get to Story. So they got Romano up after the Ref Snyder walk, okay? The next two batters happened incredibly fast, okay? 4-pitch walk, first pitch or second pitch home run. Boom. 6 pitches, you went from, or 7 pitches really, you went from up 5 to down 1 in 7 pitches. And Rob said, I could have gotten the pitcher up a batter or two earlier. Romano up a batter or two earlier. Okay. All right. But are we really going to sit there and say the manager was asleep at the wheel? He didn't help his pitcher. It was 5-0, 2 outs. If a play is made in the field, no one's talking. And that's what my big argument that I was making on Twitter was, where is everybody complaining about the relief pitcher at that point? Where's everybody saying, why aren't they getting somebody ready? No one's saying it. It wasn't until after the fact, when it was hindsight is 2020, that people are saying, oh, he should have had somebody up.
Did you feel like after Duran reaches and it's 5-2 that he should have been in the game? Were you comfortable with him on Gonzalez at that point?
No. Bob, if we're being brutally honest, I literally, after he gave up the hit to start the inning, and I just looked at his reaction, because you just lost a no-hitter, right? And it's only the 5th inning, but pitcher knows that he had a no-hitter going. And I could see the reaction there, and I turned to Tim Kelly next to me, and I said, if this next guy gets on base, he's done. And then he walked the next hitter. So, if we're being honest, that's what I saw and what I said. But that's because I don't think much of Jesus Luzardo as the mental side of his game. Right?
I'm glad you brought that up, and I want to kind of get into that a little bit. He says all of the right things post game. He's very accountable. He's very it's me. I got to figure it out. Yeah. I'm working my butt off to try to figure it out. And you listen to him and you see him and you go, okay, that's, I guess, what I want to hear. But then when he's out there, he is not able to, I'll use the phrase that used a couple moments ago. He doesn't bear down. He doesn't show stones. He doesn't, when things unravel on him, he can't seem to get it together. Now, is that a mental composition thing? Is there something more to this that he continues to tip, that especially when he has runners on base, the numbers would speak to this, he can't figure it out? So it's more of a mechanical thing, and he's just flustered by the fact that he can't figure it out. What the hell's going on with this guy?
So I asked him that question in the postgame. That was my question to him. I said, are you feeling that when you're in the stretch, this is something physical, or is it something where you're maybe overthinking it? Right? I didn't want to say that it was a mental thing. I didn't want to say, do you have the yips when you're pitching out of the stretch? But that's what's on my mind, right? And he said it's not physical. He said, I think my mechanics are good. I think that I feel is better than I've ever felt in my career. My stuff is good. He said the command gets away from me, and I don't know why. Maybe I am overthinking it, right? And so that makes you wonder, is it a situation where he's so in his own head that he can't figure it out. Yeah, and that it's not anything that he's doing wrong, that he can't focus it. Right. And then we saw the video that was put out there of Alex Cora giving the signs to the runner on second. And then what was it relayed in on the grand slam? Maybe, who knows? But what are you seeing there? What are you seeing?
It's weird. Usually I would just instantly dismiss that and go whatever.
But it's Alex Cora.
But it's Alex Cora, and two, it's Jesus Luzardo, and he's a guy that this has been a conversation point now for months with him. Is there a tell? Is there a tip? Is there something going on where everyone is in on the joke here, except for the Phillies, and everyone? Is everyone across the sport onto this guy? And what's really strange to me is, I think that the Phillies, from a pitching development standpoint, and certainly Caleb Cotham, one of the best in the game, right? And I think that their video people are really good too. I I find it hard to believe that the Phillies, if there really is a tell here, and there really is something overtly obvious going on, I would be surprised. It just doesn't. It's not happening with anyone else.
Right.
The Phillies are typically really good with this stuff. I have a hard time buying it. But when you consider some of the conversation that we've had about Luzardo and what's been going on with him, and then you see that video pop up, you're like, well, what the hell? It's hard not to go, well, maybe there's something to this.
No, I agree. I don't think, and he even said it himself after the game. He's like, I'm not even sure that was ever happening as far as the tipping thing is concerned.
That's the thing. And we talked about that. Like, they identified it. It's obviously fixed. No, it's not. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
There's something that has not been rectified. Whatever the issue is, it is clearly not been rectified. And just to speak to this a little bit, opposing hitters, 656 OPS with nobody on base against Jesus Luzardo this season. With men on base, it's 834. And with runners in scoring position, it's 916. You talk about not bearing down in situations, that speaks to it. The more pressure and the more of a jam he gets himself into, the more damage the opposing team does.
Yeah. No,
it's not the sign of a good pitcher. And the problem is, and I mean, he's been dazzling at different points throughout the season, and you kind of want to buy in. And, you look at the probable pitchers and he takes the ball, and that there's a chance that you're going to get 6 electric innings out of him. And you're going to say, damn, it's pretty good. Like, I love the upside. And the reason why I haven't reached that full boil over and frustration watching him pitch, though it's been maddening, is because I know that there's upside to it. But even if you take out now the Toronto and the Milwaukee disasters, those back-to-back debacles, he has a 4.79 ERA in his last 8 starts, and there's been some really good ones mixed in there. He's averaging 5 1/3 innings per start, so he's not getting deep. He's been wildly inconsistent, and when he blows up, he really blows up. The idea here is that, he's not going to be a starter come postseason. Okay. All right. Maybe he does go to the bullpen. Well, let me just ask you something here. Yes. If the guy is not able to bear down in tight spots and he struggles from the stretch, yes, he has a nasty, he could throw 97 with some from a weird angle, and he's got some good breaking stuff. But how does that translate come October?
That's what I was going to say. The same thing to you, Bob. I was going to throw that same question at you. Like, if you can't be in those pressurized situations now, how can you rely on him to be that guy in October coming out of the bullpen? And Chris asked an interesting question, and I'm not sure I'm ready to go this far. Chris tends to overreact sometimes, I think, a little bit. But will he even be on the postseason roster? I would say that it's way too early to go down that path. But if this continues to happen over the course of the next 2 months, then then it's a question in September. Do you put him in the bullpen? Maybe he's there as the Taiwan Walker of 23, as the long guy who doesn't ever really get to pitch. Maybe that's how he's on the roster in the postseason. I don't know if this continues to be a problem. You have 2 months to figure it out, right? It's still plenty of time to figure it out. But it's a concern because if you ask me today, is he a starter in the postseason? He's not. Is he in the bullpen in the postseason? As of right now, I still say yes.
I would too.
Yeah, as of right now, I still say yes. But could that change over the course of the next 2 months? It sure can, in either direction.
Well, it happens in a game where you're feeling good. Schwarber comes out, he's doing his thing. Harper hits his 350th career homer. They're coming off a game where Christopher Sanchez was just unbelievably good the previous night. Zach Wheeler, 10 strikeouts, no walks on Monday night. Like, everything feels good here. And it just unraveled so quickly. And it was such a bad loss. And it's July 25th today. And that game was played on July 23rd. And does it matter if the Phillies have a half game lead or if they have a half game deficit in the grand scheme of things? I don't think so. But man, like, that one stung. And contextually, it was just hard to swallow. Such a bad loss. Now, something else happens later in that game. And this was the thing, because I'm generally with you. I thought, once Duran reaches in the 5th, I'm like, come on, what are we doing here? I wasn't expecting grand slam, but I kind of didn't have a lot of faith that he was going to finish that inning either.
Right.
Get to later in the game, in the 10th, and they get the game tied up. They're down a run. Turner with the fly out to right. Runner moves to third. Schwarber gets him in. Now you have a runner on first base, tie game in the 10th with 1 out. And you have Bryce Harper up, who's been an extra base hit machine over the last, whatever it's been now, 9 games. And so I can understand, and Rob said after the game they had a shorter bullpen at that point. The game's probably not going to go another 3 innings, so you're not necessarily sure that Kyle Schwarber is going to get back up. And obviously in real time, everybody's freaking out. Like, how do you take Schwarber out of the game? And pinch run with Weston Wilson, who, by the way, is not a burner, but like he is obviously a better athlete than Kyle Schwarber at this point on the base pass. Where were you at with that move? Because I will tell you, I'm gonna be honest with you here. And I tweeted this after the game, and I wish I didn't wait to tweet it because I thought that maybe Harper was going to come up and do something and kind of make a moot point, and then I'd be the guy bitching online in real time as the Phillies are having this awesome walk-off. But I said, well, now what? Because now you're going to have Kepler. You might not get to Schwarber, but you're going to get to Kepler, and they're going to have a lefty, and Kepler is going to be the 3rd or 4th guy up in that inning likely. That's no good. And that's exactly what happened. And I like, not that Weston Wilson in that spot necessarily gets it done. I don't think you see him. I think that they keep the righty in the game and Kepler gets a crack against against a righty, as opposed to the Bernardino guy or whatever his name is coming in and just, that's the game. I didn't think there was enough upside in the moment to do that.
So I'll tell you what my thought was there. And I'm okay with it. I hear the argument for it, but in the moment you're looking at it saying you have a runner at first base. That's the winning run in the game with 1 out. And Bryce Harper's coming up. And Bryce Harper over the last 2 weeks has hit more doubles than most guys hit in 3 months. Okay. So you're thinking if Bryce Harper hits a double here, we want to win the game. And so therefore you want a better base runner than Kyle Schwarber. Schwarber's not a terrible base runner. I mean, he's slower, but he's actually a pretty smart base runner. But if depending on where the ball's hit, I would say Schwarber's chances of scoring are probably 50%. Weston Wilson gives you probably 75 to 80% chance of scoring on a double, right? So I think that's what they're going for. If it was 2 outs, I would have questioned it more because it's like, why are you really because not only that, even if Harper doesn't get the double, if he advances the runner, if he gets a hit even, then all you need is a fly ball. Like, there's a lot of things that can get that run home. And I think the Phillies were trying to win and being aggressive in the moment, and that's why they did it. Yeah, you're right. Didn't work out the way it turns out. It gets to Kepler the next inning, and you need him to come up in that spot, and you don't have another option, and it sucks, right?
What are they doing there? What are they doing with Kepler? Like, what is going on?
I'm utterly perplexed. I'm utterly perplexed with that because
3 starts this week. 3.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. Unless they're trying to get him to do a little bit of something and then he's going to be traded or try to trade him. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. I can't imagine that we see him at Citizens Bank Park again. I said before the All-Star break that we wouldn't see him in a uniform again, and he's been back. So I was wrong once. Maybe I'm going to be wrong twice. I'll be stunned if he plays another game at Citizens Bank Park, which is the next time they play there is the day after the deadline.
Right. Okay. Speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about the deadline here. Starting to get some names popping up. Some of them are kind of interesting. Some of them are names that we have not heard a whole lot about. I'll let you kind of dive in here. I mean, the one that I thought was sort of interesting, though I'm not myself specifically interested, is O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah.
Strange. I mean, look, he's under team control through 2028. He's cheap right now. Believe he heads into his first year of arbitration next, or this offseason, I should say. You talk about Robert with the White Sox, and a guy that's underperforming a little bit, although he's showing some signs of life recently. I guess I don't know even how to frame this. I look at it and say, like, over his last 30 games, he's hitting 205 with 3 homers and 112 at bats. He has 16 home runs this season. He's stolen 33 bases. He's interesting, right? You get him into a better situation, a team that has a chance, it's playing for something. Does that maybe take his game to another level? I don't see it, though. I don't get it. The Yankees apparently have called on him as well, kicked the tires. Like, what do you think about that one in particular? And are you interested? Does the rumor itself tell you anything else about what the Phillies might be trying to do? And just what do you think right now about in terms of acquisition overall?
Yeah, so O'Neal Cruz is not, to me, the right fit for this team. There's a lot of still promise there. I mean, I think he's shown flashes. Obviously, when the guy hits the ball hard, it goes a long, long way. I don't think he's very good defensively. I think that he's got a hole in his swing sometimes. Doesn't hit for average or have great on base. When he's on base, he can run, he can steal bases, and he's got that great raw power. And he's still only 26. He's affordable, controllable. All that is good. I get it. But it's going to cost you a lot to get O'Neal Cruz. I don't see that as happening. What does it tell me that rumor's out there, though? It tells me that the Phillies are they're turning over every stone. They're asking about a lot of different players, and even players that maybe you wouldn't think a team would be asked about, the Phillies are asking about, because they want to see if they can, in fact, put a package together that would get a player that maybe nobody's talking about. And when we talked before about the Phillies now having 6 top 100 prospects. That's the most they've had in a long, long time. I think that they'd be willing to move a bunch of them. I think anyone not named Andrew Painter is available. And if you're going to go try and chase down a bigger name that no one's talked about, it might take 2 to 3 of those guys to get them. And that could be something that Dombrowski's doing here and just asking these teams, hey, well, what about this guy? I know he's controllable for 4 years and you love him, but you're rebuilding and we have a lot of talent to give. What'd you think about it? I think that those kinds of things are happening maybe a little bit more regularly than they have in the past.
In addition to minor league prospects, I want to just get your temperature here on some of the guys on the roster and whether or not they too possibly could be out of here a week from now. And I'll start with maybe the most obvious one, which would be Johan Rojas. If you talk about bringing in another outfielder, do you think that Johan Rojas survives the flurry of trade activity over the next 7 days?
I mean, I think he does. I think he does because the Phillies, I think, still value the fact that he can play some defense, he can steal a base, he could be a guy you call back up in September to kind of do some things as one of the extra guys. He's liked in the clubhouse, that kind of stuff. I don't think he's a interesting enough player for other teams to really make a deal happen. I mean, he would be a throw-in in my mind in those deals. So I think he's still in the organization, but because he has an option left, I'm not convinced he's on the major league roster.
Brandon Marsh.
Yeah, I think he is. I think that he survives this. It's intriguing because, again, younger, controllable outfielders actually had some good at bats for a little bit now, shown some signs. We talked a couple episodes ago about his BABIP being one of the all-time greats. It's like second in the history of baseball behind Ty Cobb. So when he puts the ball in play, he's actually pretty good. His weakness is he strikes out a lot. But you take that away, he actually is a productive player. I think he's still here.
And then I don't believe anything I see. I mean, I don't believe anything I see on Twitter or Facebook or especially when it's related to trade rumors. I did see though, from a couple different Phillies related accounts that there's this idea out there that the Royals would be interested in Nick Castellanos. I don't look, I don't even know if there's anything to that, but I'll ask you the question. Is there the Phillies can't do a lot of subtraction from the core. I've brought this up previously, maybe about a month and a half ago with Nick Castellanos. Is there any chance that a team just says, like, we would take him? And, obviously you're going to have to pay and all of that. But the Phillies say, you know what, we will vacate and open up that spot. We will free up some money here. Is it possible? And I know your answer to this was, I know what it was previously, which is like, you need help from the right side against lefties. Like, how could you subtract Castellanos? Because he's one of the few guys that can actually help you that way. Any other thoughts to this? Like, any new thoughts to this? Or are you still on that?
I just don't. So the new thought is, why are you creating another hole to try and fill one that exists, right? So if you're trading Castellanos to Royals or whoever, it doesn't matter. Why are you filling another hole there? So you're saying, okay, we're going to get rid of Castellanos and we're going to bring back a reliever? I don't know, whatever you're filling, whatever hole you're filling. But then you now have created another one, right? So like, what is the benefit in that? And the one thing I'll say that when you look at the David Robertson contract, and this is weird, this is a weird way of getting back to this, but you look at that contract that he got, the money he's making is the money the Phillies ended up saving because of Alvarado's suspension. So they're really, really managing finances around this number at the top of the luxury tax very carefully. Can you free up some money and do some things? Yeah, but I would think that there would have to be a second or a third move that kind of is correlated to that if you're going to do that. Like you have to be able to figure out a way to replace him and get the other asset that you're going to get back in return. Like that, there has to be another thing that goes along with it. Otherwise, it makes zero sense.
Any other names out there? Any other rumors that have caught your attention that you kind of say, like, well, that's interesting. That's somebody that I would maybe check into. I know that Helsley in St. Louis, the Cardinals have really gone through it. They asked him the other night, hey, what are your thoughts on the deadline? I believe he said that he felt there was a 90% chance that he'd be traded. Phillies, I feel like, have been linked to this guy for multiple years now. Is that somebody of interest to you? I mean, anything else? Any other thoughts? I mean, look, I know that people watching this, listening to this, they want to hear about the trade deadline. They want to hear your thoughts about the trade deadline. So, here's open forum to hit anything else you got.
Yeah, I mean, look, you just talked about, the Phillies getting creative. We saw the report this week came out about them asking Cleveland about Stephen Kwan, right? Like, that's a name that is
2 homers yesterday too, by the way. 2 homers.
Yeah, I saw that. But that's not the reason that it's interesting to me. Like, he's interesting to me because it allows you to lengthen your lineup by putting him at the top, right? It gives you more depth to your lineup to include him, even though he's not a power guy. He gets on base a ton, right? And that's a guy and he's very good defensively. He helps you out in two departments. So that one's of interest to me. I think that you mentioned Helsley. The Bautista goes on. He's hurt now for Baltimore, yeah. So that probably takes him out of that mix. So the Helsley getting added in now, does he get into the mix with Duran, Clase conversation there? Miller, I don't know. Helsley's had a weird year. Strikes out a lot of guys, doesn't give up a lot of hits, but walks some guys. So he's another one of those guys a little bit all over the place. I would probably have him further down my list of interesting pitchers.
Why won't the Mason Miller thing die?
Because everybody loves the fact that the kid can throw 103. So that's why it won't die. But I'll tell you, there's something for me, Bob, with relief pitchers. I like guys who
have done it before,
who've at least been in games that matter.
Yeah.
Like that's something to me for a relief pitcher.
I do want to circle back to something we talked about earlier in the week after the Angels came in here and kicked the Phillies' ass for 3 days and win a series. They are now one step closer to selling. If they had some hesitations about becoming sellers, now I know they obviously have some very critical games here coming up ahead of the trade deadline, but you go up to New York and you get swept by a Mets team that had not been playing very good baseball, and don't know what that does for your overall assessment of the future. So, does that bring some of the Wards back into the conversation and some of these guys as well? It's going to be interesting. One thing I will tell you is it does feel like as we're getting closer to the deadline here, it feels like the possibilities for trade partners are starting to expand a little bit rather than further tighten. I don't know if that's how you read it, but I think there's more teams right now that might be interested in making a deal than there would have been when we had this conversation 2-3 weeks ago. St. Louis, I don't think Minnesota's really on the right track. I don't think that Cleveland's on the right track. I don't think that the Angels are on the right track. Baltimore is a clear seller at this point. I think that there's more teams here in the mix than we would have. Arizona is selling, it has already begun to sell. Yeah. So that to me is interesting. I think that the environment for a deal, and maybe one that even catches us off guard a little bit where you say, oh shit, didn't see that coming. I think that some of the ingredients are starting to pile together here for something like that to happen.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like, you look at these teams and that were kind of in the middle, and I'm actually surprised that some of them have decided, even though we're kind of sort of still in this thing, we're gonna sell and we're gonna get out of it. Now, keep in mind, a year ago, the Detroit Tigers were one of those teams.
Yeah.
Right. They tried to sell. They said, we're kind of sort of hovering around 500. We're going to sell. They sold at the deadline, and then they got incredibly hot and made the playoffs. Right. I mean, so
speaking of which, by the way, that Tigers team's starting to stumble a little bit now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they're going to win that division because the division stinks, but they got their pantsed by the Blue Jays last night. They're only 16 over. Like the Tigers have been like the standard of baseball pretty much all year. And you look up and they're 16 games over 500. There's no team. There is no team that is just simply far and away head and shoulders better than everybody else this year.
Yeah.
You ready for that Blue Jays Brewers World Series?
I was just going to say to you, like, the Toronto Blue Jays are sneaky good right now. And I don't get it because we saw them play the Phillies and we're like, this team's okay. They're just okay. And now they're same. And the Brewers, same thing. I mean, when they were in town, I know that they lit up Luzardo, but it was like, okay, that's an okay team, but now they've got the best record in baseball. Like, who saw this happening with these teams?
They don't really score, but the pitching has just been so good. Look, I know we're on a time crunch here. We have to get this in. Andrew Painter last night, 6 innings, 1 hit allowed. It was a home run to Ryan Mountcastle, who was rehabbing for Norfolk. Couple walks, didn't love that. Didn't strike out 10, but a step in the right direction for Andrew Painter, right?
Yes, it was a good outing by Andrew Painter. They need to see a little bit more of that, I think, before he's ready to come up now. But this was definitely one that was more what they were hoping to see out of him. Look, you're going to give up home runs.
If we see that 2 more times, if we get it 2 more times, I think we finally see him.
Yes, I think you're right.
That was strike one, in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. And 2 other quick things I wanted to touch on, and because I mentioned it in the show notes. One, Bryson Stott, dad energy.
Yeah. Does having 2 children, is that what really gets you going? Is it you just needed to have the second child to turn into the guy that we thought he'd be?
I will say, cool thing for Bryson Stott, right? Yeah. It's the double and the home run. A Red Sox fan caught that home run ball in right field, and he wanted it back to give to his son to say, I hit a home run the day you were born. And the day Stott was meeting with the family, and we're walking into the clubhouse, and the little kid, maybe, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, who had the ball, and he gave them like a signed bat and some other swag in return. The little kid said to him, how come you're not at the hospital? Which I thought
I'll tell you what, it's been a tough year for Bryson Stott on the field. Yeah. And there have not been many great moments. And from a personal level. It was very nice to see that for him. I'm sure that he needed that desperately.
Yeah, for sure. And the last thing was JT. And let's make this a one last thing. I had one last thing, but I'm out of time. I got to run. So this will be our one last thing. JT Reqlmuto, I know he misses the pop-up, ends up costing the Phillies 6 runs in the game, but finally hits a home run off of a left-hander. First one since last year.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about it. That's unbelievable for a right-handed hitter who plays as much as he does. The first home run off a left-hander all year, and it comes off of a Aroldis.
What's more unbelievable, that or that Turner hasn't homered at home since last season?
I know they're both pretty unbelievable. That being said, JT has been exceptionally good at the plate for them for a while. Mostly as a singles hitter, but really just keeps producing, keeps getting on. Has that OPS up over 800 since
he's hitting 339 over his last 30 games. He has a 909 OPS over his last 15.
Yeah, he's been really good. Do you think about potentially moving him back up higher in the lineup the way he's going?
I think what I think is you go out and get an adult to hit in the middle of the order and let Reqlmuto do what he's doing.
Sure. But I mean, in lieu of being able to get that
probably
adult,
given they're patching this together, I think you just have to ride the hot hands, and he's an established guy and he should be able to handle it.
Credit to him for identifying where he's at in his career and what he's not capable of doing consistently anymore, and finding something that he can do well consistently.
Yeah.
And he's going the opposite way. I mean, there are a lot of singles, but he's getting on base, and that's a good thing for the Phillies.
Yeah, he's up to 269 now for the season, and he was hitting 222 on June 1st. That's 2 months into the season. So he's totally changed his season around. Kudos to him. They're going to need it. They're going to need more of that. They're going to need him. They're going to need Schwarber to continue to hit an MVP level, and they're going to need Bryce Harper to be what he's been for 2 weeks now.
Yeah. Sorry for the abbreviated show today. It was all my fault. I had some traffic issues getting to where I had to go. I have something coming up here right at 9 a.m., so I have to bail. But we will be back on Monday to break down this Phillies-Yankees series, which, by the way, Bob, they're going to win. They're going to win this series against the Yankees.
Need a series win this weekend.
I don't think the Yankees are very good.
Taiwan sets the tone. Then I never think the Yankees are good. I haven't thought the Yankees have been good in 10 years. So
I just think they're overrated. But so I think the Phillies win this series. So Phillies, Yankees, and we'll break it all down on Monday morning. I'll be back probably at our normal time. My 3-week stint as a teacher ends today. So yes, we'll be back at our regular times on Monday. But thanks for tuning in to Phightin Words. As always, you can subscribe to Phightin Words on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts. The best place right here on YouTube. Click the thumbs up, ring the bell. You'll never, ever miss a show anytime Bob and I go live. And if you're listening in the podcast feed, you want to find us on YouTube, it's youtube.com/@Phightin Words. So for Bob Wankel, I'm Anthony SanFilippo saying thanks for tuning in to this brief episode, and we will see you again on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone.